One of the best things, the absolute best things you can do for your body is sleep. But how much do we understand about how sleeping works? In her new book, The Inner Clock, Seattle science writer Lynne Peeples shows us how our circadian rhythms work so we can improve our lives. Lynne joins me now. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay, I need this. We talked earlier, so I'm having some real trouble. Our inner clock is the circadian rhythm. What is this exactly?
Right.
I think it's a term we throw out, but I don't know many of us know what it is.
Exactly. No, our bodies are filled with trillions of tiny clocks. Not just one, but trillions.
Okay.
So but pretty much every cell in your body has a clock, and from your nose to your toes. And these clocks are all ticking in coordination with each other to try to prime your body to do the right things at the right times. So that's like eat, metabolize that food, be strong at certain times, sleep at certain times.
So all those clocks create the circadian rhythm.
Exactly. And it's plural more or less, but these are coordinated together.
Circadian rhythms, it should be.
Exactly.
Okay. So
exactly.
The Seattle Mariners and their locker room lighting started you on this whole journey?
Yes. I mean, I think, behind the scenes, I've been probably ticking my clocks off my whole life. So I wasn't really thinking about it. But sleep troubles growing up in Seattle are, all the issues that we have here.
Right.
But I had moved back to Seattle and got an invitation. I was, a journalist, got an invitation to check out some new LED lights that they'd put up in Safeco Field when it was still Safeco. And I took the opportunity. I'm a lifelong Mariners fan, right? And so cool stadium lighting, right? But then they took us into the locker room. And they had just installed this strange new lighting system that brightened and turned stronger with the blue wavelengths before games.
Oh.
And they explained how this is to help the players energize for the games.
So almost to wake up?
Yeah, almost to wake up. Right, and just because there's direct effects of that light in addition to helping our circadian rhythms, which we can talk more about. And then after the games, they would dim the lights and make it more of a warm, orange hue to calm them down so they could sleep and then get up the next day to play again, right? So, and this was also, as they told us, to help their circadian rhythm.
So that kind of got you started?
Yeah, it was fascinating. I'm like, what's this about? And could it help explain what's going on with my life and all my troubles? Like, could I implement some of this?
Okay, so let's go back to the circadian rhythms. Is the circadian rhythm and sleep the same thing?
No, yes and no. So circadian rhythm, again, is driving so many processes in our body, one of which is sleep.
Okay.
And sleep is also impacted by another system. We're not going to get into that now, but circadian rhythm, definitely a huge component, driver of sleep.
So how much sleep then should we be getting? And then you say we should find our chronotype?
Right.
Okay, explain.
So you've heard early birds, night owls, right? Those are chronotypes, but there's like a full spectrum, right? We're not all in just two categories.
Could I be an early bird and also a night owl?
Well, perhaps at different times in your life, yes. Because these also change throughout your life.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, so when you're young, like little kids get up early, right?
Right.
Much to the chagrin of their parents often. And then during adolescence, your rhythms actually drift later. So those teenagers who are notoriously, wanting to stay up late and sleep in late, that's at least largely biological.
Okay, so that's normal for a teenager then, because I've heard that to stay up late. No matter how hard I tried to get my kids to go to bed, there's still the staying up late.
Right.
Okay, so that's a chronotype.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
For that time.
It is a chronotype. Yep. And then
how does it change then as we get older?
Right. So then you kind of level out in your middle age years.
Okay.
And then as we get older, our chronotype will. Probably most importantly, our circadian rhythm just weakens. We don't have as strong of a day-night cycle, which is when it is especially important, as I talk about in my book, to kind of infuse those cues that tell the body day and night towards the later years. I mean, it's important the whole way through.
Okay, so how do we infuse those then?
Right, so when we say circadian, that circa means around or about.
Okay.
So that's telling us, so these clocks in our body don't run precisely at 24 hours a day. So we need to calibrate them with cues from the environment, from the earthly 24-hour day. That's particularly light and dark.
So then I'm basically cheating my circadian clock or rhythm, right? I need to do something to change that since it's weakening.
Right. You need to just, give it
what
stronger
am I not
cues.
doing that I need to be doing that?
Well, we haven't talked enough yet to know what your routine is, but are you going for a walk in the morning? Are you getting outside to get daylight first thing in the day?
So then going for a walk in the morning is something will help me at night.
Absolutely. And light throughout the day. I mean, morning particularly helpful. As many photons you can get throughout the day, the better. And then that also helps you protect you from the light at night that can mess up your rhythms. But at night, dim the lights. You know, it's not necessary to blast, especially these overhead lights.
What about the idea that, and you mentioned this growing up here, living in gloom for months?
Yeah.
What does that do, and then how do I counterbalance that?
Right. Well, so our gloom, I mean, it is gloomy, but 99% of the time, if you go outside, it's probably still brighter than your indoor environment.
That's fair.
Believe it or not.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
It's particularly important in those winter months for us to get outside more and soak up as many photons as we can get.
So don't use the gloom as an excuse not to walk in the morning.
Exactly.
You say you're still getting the photons that you're going to need.
At least after the sun rises, right?
Right, right.
Which it does late for a good part of the year. So that helps.
Okay.
And then, you know, I've talked to some scientists local who actually try to artificially extend the day with, you know, sun lamps in the morning, like trying to blast, you know, that
and
bright,
do they work, do you think?
blue-rich light.
Okay.
Evidence suggests they do. They help us sad. They help us with our rhythms.
I want to ask you again, you had mentioned the teenagers and going to bed late. So then do we just let them embrace that? Because even though I know that you were saying their chronotype is to go to bed later.
Right.
Do we give in to that, or should we still try to get them to go to bed at the same time? Is there value in that, or do I give up? Or because some schools are changing bell times.
Exactly. Seattle Public Schools have been part of the lead on that nationally. So we delayed middle and high school start times, which is great. So I mean, I think we need more of that. I mean, it's still like 8:30, 8:45 start time is still not ideal for these kids. But really to help them, I mean, it helps for them to follow the rules about getting light in the morning, darkness at night, and trying to keep a consistent schedule.
Right.
That will help them, but you know, we're doing a disservice to these
They still need to
kids.
sleep in later.
Yeah, ideally.
Should we be taking cues from the Mariners' locker room lighting in our own workplaces? Would that help us as well?
I did
Can you
see
say it louder? Yeah.
Yeah, like what's up with these lights? Actually, these are pretty bright. You're getting some good light
But
here.
workplaces could also, it would be helpful?
And I visited some that have been implementing this. Yeah, absolutely. Some in Seattle, and schools are doing this. Some Renton schools had installed some of these circadian lightings.
And it's helped?
I mean, their studies
sure
haven't
yet?
really been done yet. But in Europe, they actually have done some studies, and it's helping the students.
I'm going to put that on blast for our next all employee meeting. So
Great.
We talked about this a little bit earlier. I came from the generation which was you can sleep when you're dead, and saw that sleep was needing sleep was a sign of weakness, which is not good.
No.
What have we done? We're changing that, yes?
We are changing that. I mean, I'm grateful to see, I mean, sleep has been kind of pumped up in the last, I don't know how many years, but people are realizing how important it is for, just your functioning day to day, your productivity, and then your health and your long-term health. It's huge. Matt Walker, Why We Sleep, that book really, brings that home. But now circadian rhythms, that piece
I'm
is
fascinated by that. I had no idea there were so many of them in my body. And as you say, I think we are. I've noticed in the last 10 to 15 years, we're now saying it's okay to need sleep, and you should need sleep. And I guess prioritizing sleep, which is what I'm learning from you. And those pesky circadians. Thank you.